Are you looking to get into real estate investing but don't have a lot of money saved for the down payment or repairs? Well, I'll be going over a new type of loan that will hopefully be the answer that you've been looking for. Hi everyone, my name is Angelo Ciarinelli and I'm a financial planner in Verona, New Jersey. On November 18th, Fannie Mae began a new 5% down financing option for owner-occupied multifamily properties. Now I know what you're probably thinking. Angelo, what does 20th century entrepreneur, philanthropist, and activist Fannie Mae Duncan have to do with real estate? Well, the Fannie Mae I'm talking about isn't a person. It's the Federal National Mortgage Association, and over the years it has received the nickname of Fannie Mae. Long story short, it's a government-sponsored enterprise that's purpose is to help increase the availability of financing for owner-occupied homes. This loan program is meant for owner-occupied 2, 3, or 4-unit family properties, and prior to this, requirements for Fannie Mae multifamily financing were 15 to 25% down depending on the number of units. So this meant that on a $500,000 house, you now only have to put down $25,000 instead of the $75,000 you would have had to put down prior to this loan. But wait, there's more. For a 3 or 4 family home costing $500,000, you also only have to put down $25,000 instead of the $125,000 you would have had to put down prior. Now, many of you may be familiar with FHA loans and be thinking, who cares about 5% down when I can use the FHA's 3.5% down loan? Well, to get an FHA loan on a 3 or 4 family home, it must pass the self-sufficiency test. So let's say you want to buy a 3-unit property and live in one of the units. To get an FHA loan, you have to add up the market value of rents for all of the units, including the one you'll be living in, multiply it by 75%, or a vacancy factor determined by the appraiser, whichever is higher, and subtract the mortgage, insurance, and property taxes from this number. If the resulting number isn't negative, then the property passes the self-sufficiency test. Now, I'm not a fan of buying real estate that operates at a loss, which is what the self-sufficiency test protects against. But there are times when the vacancy factor is either too conservative, or let's face it, it can be almost impossible to find a property that cash flows depending on where you live. However, one thing to note is that the max loan amount for these Fannie Mae loans is $1.4 million, which depending on your location may be more or less than the maximum FHA loan amount allowed. So something to keep in mind. What's cool is that these new Fannie Mae loans can also be great to use on fixer-uppers when combined with the Fannie Mae Homestyle Renovation Program. This will allow you to roll the rehab costs into the mortgage, so you're putting 5% down on the total rehab plus the property purchase cost. Now, as is typical for these low down payment loans where you're putting down less than 20%, you'll have to pay for foreclosure insurance. You'll also need to have 6 months of payment reserves, but this can be in assets such as your 401k, so not cash. And you'll also need at least a 620 credit score to qualify. Of course, the higher the score, the better when it comes to interest rates. And if you eventually sell down the road, you can defer capital gains taxes on the units you rented out with a 1031 exchange and exclude up to $250,000 in gains if single or $500,000 in gains if married filing jointly on the unit you lived in through the Section 121 exclusion. Now, I know what I just said probably made no sense whatsoever, just a bunch of numbers, so I'll do a video on it at some point, but all you have to know is that you can get excellent tax treatment on real estate. So one of the things that I love about these types of loans is that they get you into home ownership and real estate investing sooner rather than later. But you'll still want to make sure you have the cash needed for repairs or periods of time where you can't rent a unit or a tenant doesn't pay rent. You'll also want to make sure you plan on living in one of the units for at least a year, which is a requirement for these loans. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.